Life is happening in two sides of reality simultaneously. On the one hand, there is a physical reality that's taking place. There are organs that have biological functions and they're interacting with the environment. On the other side, there's a narrative, there's a story, there's my own opinion about what's taking place. These two are not identical. Not only are they not identical, they are not fully related. Depending on the level of the person, the narrative can move towards or away from the reality that's driving it. So the reality, the physical movement that takes place, that creates the world, this reality they call the lower world. The place where we create the narrative, the place where we explain to ourselves and to others what it is that's happening, this is called the higher world. The higher world is running the lower world. The higher world is running the lower world based on its understanding of the lower world, not on the reality of the lower world. And this is what we want to unite. We want to unite two parts of the divine. One of the parts decided all the physical. That's one part of the divine that decided everything that will happen in our biology as life interacts with it, as it learns the environment and interacts in order to stay alive and to produce its interests. That's one part. The other part of God designed the narrative, the speech, the ability to explain these things. These two parts of God are the same. There is no distinction within God. The distinction is within our experience. We want to unite these two parts of God, but God doesn't have any parts, and yet we experience Him in parts, and we want to unite our experience of Him. And so the narrative is like the groom. The lower worlds, the form and the shape and the function and the impact that everything has on everything, that's the bride. That's what the groom needs to learn to love in order for there to be joy in the relationship. She has a very specific way, and he has a very specific desire, and the only place that these two meet is when they're both accurate. If the way that she is not accurate to her nature, then he doesn't desire her. His desire awakens when she is accurate. And so, in order for the desire of the narrative to wake up to what we are experiencing, we want to direct what we are experiencing to be in line with its own nature. If somehow this nature gets offended, the groom is less interested, and then there is less joy. And so our purpose is to unite the divine. The divine itself can never be divided, that we should need to unite it. But when we say we want to unite the divine, we mean unite the divine within ourselves, because our inner world has become a place where the divine is not revealed. And so in that inner world, in that lost world, we want to unite the divine. Everywhere else he's already united without us. The only place where there might be a division is in the human perception, and so there we want to unite him. When the narrative is in conflict with the reality and the narrative start to deteriorate. And this is for good reason. This is in order to awaken a desire for peace. But when the narrative leads us outside, when the narrative leads us to pursue things that are not under our direct control, then even if the narrative is trying to please the reality, the lower world, it's not going to work out, because it's not up to the one who's creating the narrative. He can no longer supply what's being demanded. And so in order to unite the narrative with the reality, we have to first come back to a place of silence, that is before the narrative takes on form, before the reality is making demands in the form of a narrative. First, there's a unification. This is called returning. Returning to the heart means that the mind understands his place, and therefore he wants to create a narrative that is aligned with the intentions of the life force itself. Otherwise, if the narrative is going elsewhere, it's causing damage to the life force, to the original intentions. Existence demonstrates will. Everywhere there's a human being, there's a will. Everywhere there's a creature, there's a will. That will has an authentic manifestation. The will that's inherent in the life force, not a will that was uploaded through the ears. A will that is alive before. That will has an accurate way. Now we have to use our ears to go find a way to become authentic after we have already contaminated the relationship. But the original will, before it was contaminated, before things were uploaded through the ears, that original will is directly rooted in the life force itself. The life force is not a blank life force, it's a life force that has intelligence. It gives life through desire. It has a purpose, and it's very subtle, because this purpose is fueling the entire being. When this purpose is being frustrated, the being has less. Even if within the being we won't see what is wrong, but something beyond the being is being frustrated, and the whole being has less. And so to unite the narrative with the reality, with the being that is manifested in this body, we have to go back to before the narrative. Whatever narrative it is, it started on a false basis. It was based on other people creating narratives that were false. So whatever it is, that's not the original intention of the being. And now we have to discover a way that is more aligned, so that the being can be more revealed, so that the narrative can be more accurate. And then it goes again. If the narrative is more accurate, the being can be more revealed. Reality can become known. Reality is here, it's reacting to everything. But reality is not known because the narrative is somewhere else. It doesn't understand the real nature of what's taking place. Even though life is really a dream, our brain is creating the life that we think we have. It's a form of a dream. But this dream is not a random dream. This dream is the language of something real. And so if we pay attention to this dream, we can learn the real before we meet it. Once we meet the real, we will know the real. But only then will we understand the context for what happened while we were dreaming. The dream doesn't make sense, but the questions that arise within the dream are related to something that's outside of the dream. Those questions lead the soul to awaken from the dream. As a child, we know something is not in line, but we can't really tell. We're not developed enough to realize why the adults are behaving the way that they are. And as we become adults and we become aware of why they behave the way that they do, we become adults and we also behave the way that they do. The questions we had as children were accurate for a mind that has not yet been contaminated by the situation at hand. The situation at hand is a situation of hostility, where humanity is going through very volatile emotions. The way that we interact with reality, in order to understand the source, is in a place where there are no difficult emotions. The source doesn't have to deal with difficult emotions. So to the extent we have to deal with difficult emotions, we become different than the source. We don't remember the way that the source thinks. And then the narrative goes against the reality because he doesn't understand the reality. The reality doesn't seem to be catered to him. It's not fully catered to him. It's not catered to bad moods. Reality will never work for bad moods. Bad moods are something that need to be healed in order to have access to reality. It's something that we need to learn to listen to know what they're telling us. If the narrative goes away from reality, reality suffers because the higher world is angry at the lower world. And so we come back to awaken the love, because they are one. They are two aspects of the same. There's really no distinction. It isn't a different one that's experiencing you and another one that's commenting on it. It's that same one. We want to awaken the one so that the two will get along. Not only should they get along, they should fall in love. They should have excitement. This will produce a better narrative and a better reality. There should be excitement between the higher world and the lower world. There should be desire between the higher world and the lower world. There should be unification. The process of life has already reached a place where humanity could have access to it if they were wise enough. All of creation has been preparing us for a time when humanity is going to be wise enough to awaken from their dream. Then all the investment that was invested in this project to create the universe is going to take on a different meaning. From our perspective, but our perspective is the reigning perspective in the universe. No one else has a perspective. The angels know, but they know themselves, and through knowing themselves, they know that there is a source that exists. But humans have a perspective. Humans participate in evaluating reality. Reality gets judged by humans, and humans have been harsh judges, and that harsh judgment has caused a lot of conflict between humans. And then that caused even harsher judgment, which caused more conflict. The narrative of what it means to be human has deteriorated. It's the same being. It feels very different to be it. And all of creation is waiting for man. Oh man, oh man, oh man, when will you wake up from your dream? How bad does it need to get before you question? Before you say, maybe we're doing this wrong? When man will make up, all of the forces will shine. All of the forces will reveal their beauty, their capacity, their depth, their wisdom. Everything will be enjoyable. Everything already is enjoyable if only there would be someone that is capable of enjoying. If only there would be someone who has the sensitivity to realize the nature of what he is experiencing. All of creation is waiting for that someone, yearning. Why are we even here? The angels say to each other. What is the point of all this? They're not getting it. All of creation is yearning, waiting for humanity to awaken so that they can sing their beautiful song and we can appreciate it so that the cycle of life could be completed, so that the purpose and the will that lives in the world could remember itself. And the narrative is in exile, which means humanity is in exile, which means they no longer remember why they are here. they don't even remember to question. Haster Astir, the hiddenness was hidden. It seems like everything is revealed. Oh, but there are so many questions. Questions have become normalized. Life is not supposed to make sense. Oh, then why create a brain that doesn't align with its own mission? Life makes sense. Humanity's beliefs don't make sense. Humanity's beliefs don't add up. Life adds up. Life lives. If we were wise, we would try to learn from it. It knows how to live. It was designed to live. It's filled with wisdom. It's filled with life. It thinks, it feels, and it speaks. We were meant to question until we find answers. This is a sign of maturity. This is a sign of a creature that is worthy of knowing its worthiness. We've accepted lower and lower standards. The generations have fallen. Today, it doesn't need to make sense that the world was created anymore. No one expects it to make any sense. This is not because it doesn't make sense. This is simply because we are so distant and removed from our real nature. And then we need all kinds of distractions, or worse, interventions, in order to keep us from realizing that we have lost our understanding of reality. Reality is happening regardless of whether we understand it or not. But boy, does it make a difference to us if our understanding is aligned with the way that it really is. Our understanding needs to align with the way that it really is. The way that it really is the wisdom from beyond. This is the will. This is the purpose. This is the way. This is the truth. This is alive and nothing else is alive. Everything else is just an idea. An idea cannot compete with life. Life lives. An idea just goes away when you forget it. We have to be attached to life, to the thing itself. In order to be attached to the thing itself, we have to have a narrative that can align with the thing itself. A narrative that doesn't cause conflict with the thing itself. A higher world that knows how to align with his lower world. Because the higher world and the lower world that we each have in us is directly controlling the higher world and the lower world that's within the greater reality. Each one of us is influencing how the forces are going to run the world. It's not by a vote. Every movement counts. Every movement becomes real. Everything you say to yourself, the higher world is saying to the lower world, everywhere. The lower world is where we are. We're all receiving whatever the higher world says to the lower world. And we're all controlling what the higher world will say to the lower world. What the world that gives narrative will say to the world that is happening in the physical biology of your body. And so we return to unite. We remember. We bring back the narrative to a place that was before the narrative, when the one experiencing and what's being experienced and the reaction to the experience are all the same. We remember that they're the same before we move forward to create the narrative. When all of us will know how to unite, then the higher world will be kind to the lower world, and that will result in complete liberation.